So imagine this. You find your dream home. You find the next chapter of your life. You move there. You've done your budget. You're approved. You're good to go on your mortgage. And then you get this random bill that you're like, what is this? It might not be a deal breaker. Yeah, you can handle it, but you're frustrated because you might not have seen it coming. Well, I want to talk today about some of the hidden costs in Sandusky, Ohio that you might not be considering when you're moving here. Everyone talks about how affordable Sandusky, Ohio is. And compared to a lot of the areas of the country that my clients are moving here from, it kind of is. But again, there are some hidden costs that we want to make sure you're aware of. And this really applies to anywhere you live, but let's get specific in this video to Sandusky, Ohio. So I'm gonna give you real world experience here, talk about the different costs of living in Sandusky that go beyond your mortgage that you just need to be aware of. And at the end, I'm going to explain to you why, even with some of these extra costs of living here, why Sandusky is still considered one of the most desirable places to live in the Midwest. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Adam, your friend in real estate here along the beautiful shores of Lake Erie in Sandusky, Ohio. I am licensed with the night team at Keller Williams Citywide, and this is what I do. I absolutely love working in real estate and helping clients just like you moving to the next chapter of their life. On this channel, my number one goal is to be a resource for you, all things real estate. I love to talk about the cost of living, the lifestyle, and the neighborhoods and more things to do all along the northern shores of Ohio. Really, I cover everywhere from Vermilion all the way through Port Clinton, Catawba Island area, and Sandusky's right in the heart of it all. I absolutely love living here, and I love everything about it. If you're thinking of making a move here or around here, my contact information is in the description below. In this video, I'm covering 8 different aspects that you need to consider when it comes to the costs of living in Sandusky. But we're going to start with number 1, the biggest one that there is, and the one that you're probably most curious about, and that's the housing cost here. So Ohio is known for being relatively low when it comes to housing prices. Sandusky is no exception to that. Median home prices here are around the mid to low $200,000 range. And you can still find solid starter homes underneath that $200,000 range. For example, I have a client that's actually moving here from Missouri, and in their price range, we're looking for a little bit less than $200,000, and there are so many homes to choose from. And I think I showed 10 houses this last weekend because there's a lot to choose from. One thing to consider, this is a little bit of a side note, market update here if you're considering this, the homes move quick. So we had a lot of situations where we found a nice home that fits the budget. It might have been a renovation, and it goes off the market in 1, maybe 2 days. So these homes do move quick. One thing to consider when you're looking at downtown Sandusky and that surrounding area, those homes, a lot of them are going through regeneration. You're going to see a lot of flips there, people buying them up and then flipping them and selling them at a little bit higher price, but the work's already been done for you. I think I showed 4 houses in that area this weekend that were all flips. They were well done, a lot of them, but they didn't last long. They move very quickly. So you're going to find in Sandusky, you're going to find a vast price range. Closer you get to downtown in some areas, it's going to be a little bit lower. I've seen homes there that are less than $100,000. I've seen a lot in the $100,000 to $200,000 range. And then when you go over to different areas around Venice Heights, and then there's a lot of other different sub-communities in the Sandusky area that we're going to talk about in this channel, you're going to see prices just all over the map. You'll see $1 million plus properties in the Cedar Point area there on Cedar Point Road that are absolutely gorgeous. So there's a whole lot of different price ranges there, but the median home price is the mid $200,000 range. But what surprises most out-of-state buyers when it comes to the hidden costs here is how property taxes work in Ohio. And this is interesting. So if you don't know this, Erie County property taxes are based on the home's assessed value multiplied by the local millage rate, which varies depending on your school district. So you have to know the school district you're in, and that will determine the millage rate that you're actually going to get. For most Sandusky residents, this is going to work out to 1.8% to 2.2% of your home's market value per year. So let's give some real numbers here. For a home that is around $250,000, you're looking at roughly $4,500 to $5,000 a year in property taxes. Now, that's still lower than many coastal states, but it's going to be higher than what a lot of transplants expect when they hear, hey, Ohio is cheap. Ohio is a cheap place, affordable place to live. So when you're moving to the area, here's what you're going to want to do. When you buy, double check what school district your property is in. Even if you don't have kids, you need to know this, because when there's two homes, they're just a few blocks apart, they can have a noticeable difference in property taxes because of the school districts and the millage rate. The second cost, hidden cost, you need to know about moving to Ohio or living in Ohio is the vehicle and registration fees. This is an annoying one, but let's talk about it. Unlike some other southern states that charge annual property taxes on vehicles, Ohio's system is simpler, but it is not free. So here's how it works. When you move here, you're going to pay for the following. You're going to pay around $34.50 for title and registration. And then you're going to pay from $31 to $50 per year per license plate renewal, depending on your vehicle type. And that's for the generalized plate. If you want a personalized plate, like those Lake Erie plates, you're going to have a small surcharge on that as well. If you're transferring plates from out of state, make sure your insurance meets Ohio's minimum insurance requirements. Otherwise, the BMV will not issue your registration. It's not a huge cost, $34.50. Yeah, not a big deal, but it can be annoying. So just when you're moving here, consider those factors. And that really goes for any state that you're going to be moving to. You need to know what they charge and how it works. When I moved from Ohio to Florida and then back, very different how they work together, but those hidden costs can hit you if you're not prepared for them. Number 3, HOA fees and neighborhood maintenance. So if you're moving here from Florida or California, you'll probably laugh at how small some of the HOA fees are here, and this is true. Most homes in Sandusky don't even have an HOA. Some do, but most don't, especially the older neighborhoods or homes closer to downtown. Those are not going to be in an HOA community. But if you go to a newer development or a condo community, there's some out there in Venice Heights, whether you're near marinas, golf courses, you're going to expect an HOA fee. So you're going to find typically $250 up to $600 per year on average. Now that can change depending on the type of community, amenities, location, things like that. For example, some upscale lakefront condos, they might run closer to $1,000 annually, but that's going to often include things like lawn care, snow removal. That's something to consider here in Ohio, and exterior maintenance. That can actually save you money and time during our winters, depending how snowy they can become. So HOA and neighborhood maintenance is the third thing to consider. Number 4, home insurance and utilities. This goes wherever you're going to move. You're going to have these things, but let's talk about specifically in Sandusky. The good news here is Sandusky's home insurance rates are generally lower than the national average. This is much of Northern Ohio. You're not dealing with hurricanes. I came from Florida and I went through 2 of them. Not fun. So you're not dealing with hurricanes. You're not dealing with earthquakes. I don't think I've ever lived through an earthquake. There are some flood zones, but they're mainly limited to being right on the bay. So if you're not right on the bay, you don't have to worry about flood zones typically. So the average homeowner is going to pay around $1,200 to $1,500 per year for home insurance. If you're buying near the waterfront, you might need to add an extra $200 to $400 for flood protection, depending on where you're at. Let's talk utilities. That's a big one. So utilities, on the other hand, they can fluctuate quite a bit, and this is going to depend on your home's age and the insulation. And that's something that people don't really consider very often. The older the home and sometimes the poorer the insulation, obviously you're going to have some of that air leaking out, and that's going to affect how much air conditioning or heat you're losing in your home. So let's talk about that. Electricity on average is $120 a month through $180 per month. And again, this also depends on the size of the home. In much bigger homes, you're going to spend more. And one thing to consider too, seasons here. So like for me personally, I know in the summertime, my electric bill is going to be much higher than in the wintertime, but in the wintertime, my gas bill is going to be much higher than in the summertime. So natural gas, we all have natural gas here for the most part. Some homes out in the more rural areas might have a propane tank, but for the most part, Sandusky is going to have natural gas. That's going to be $60 to $120. And this is true. I've seen $60 bills in the summertime and then $120 bills in the wintertime, depending how cold it is and the home you're in. Water and sewer, that one is going to depend on how much you use water, but $70 to $90 typically is what you're going to see. Internet. So internet's going to depend on how strong your internet is and the provider that you have, $75 to $120. My internet bill is $110, so it's right there in the middle. I need really good internet. So again, don't forget that Lake Erie weather does affect things. So your heating bill's going to go up. And then also in the summertime, your electric bill might go up depending on how hot it is. Number 5, everyday living costs. Let's talk about it. So this is actually a positive when it comes to living in Sandusky in the Northern Ohio region. Groceries in Sandusky are pretty reasonable compared to national averages. Shopping at Aldi, if you don't know what Aldi is, it's a pretty great little grocery store chain here in Ohio. Very affordable. And we have Meijer as well. So Aldi and Meijer, they typically are going to save you 10 to 20% compared to chains like Kroger or Giant Eagle. I actually really like Kroger a lot, but it just depends on what I'm shopping for and how big my grocery list is, honestly. Where people often get surprised, though, with some hidden cost might be dining out. So if you live in Sandusky, you have a ton of options. If you go to Perkins Township, you're going to see a lot of different chain restaurants there. There's a Sandusky Mall and everything that has to offer. There's a lot of other great restaurants there. But then if you're downtown Sandusky, there are some incredible mom and pop local dining options for you, and you can find yourself spending a lot of money very quickly if you're not used to that, because why not go out and enjoy all that downtown has to offer. I mean, imagine this, it's a Friday night in the summertime, Jackson Street Pier is open, there's a local band playing there, there's either a local bar there that you might want to go to, or maybe just get some awesome food at one of the local restaurants like Small City Tap House. Then you go get ice cream afterwards, and before you've known it though, you've spent over $100 on food and ice cream. So it's something to consider when you're moving to this area. This area, Sandusky specifically, is known for entertainment. There's a ton of restaurants and things to do there. And so you need to factor that in. And as you take advantage of that, you can mess up your budget a little bit if you don't think that through. So just something to consider there. That's a very positive thing, but it's something to be aware of. All right, number 6, let's talk about schools and childcare. So if you have schools, school quality is often top of mind, and there's plenty of resources out there where you can go and look up school ratings. I'm not going to talk about that on this channel, but there are plenty of resources out there to go and see. I will say Sandusky and really all these little towns, Sandusky, Vermilion, Huron, they're all known for great school systems. I graduated from Firelands High School right outside of Vermilion. Great school system there too. So they're all great, honestly, but go look up the ratings on there if you want more information. Let's talk costs though. So like Perkins Local School District is a great place as well, I should mention. Very good with sports. But then let's talk about prices here. So public schools, of course, are including your property taxes. Private school tuition, however, obviously is not. And that can run between $7,000 and $12,000 per year, depending on the grade level in the school that they're in. Childcare cost, and this is interesting, childcare costs are around $800 to $1,000 a month for full-time care, which it's really far cheaper than a lot of the metro areas that you're going to see, but it's still a meaningful expense that you should consider if you're moving to this area. All right, number 7, this is a quick one, transportation and commuting. You might be asking, how is there a cost associated with that? It depends on what you're doing and where you're going. There might be a cost there. One great thing about living in Northern Ohio along the coast here, traffic is great. I very rarely have traffic issues depending on where I'm going. Obviously, you go towards Cleveland, you might run into some traffic there in Cleveland, but it's nothing like some of the other areas of the country. You might have some construction to deal with here and there too. But the traffic is great. Even during Cedar Point peak season, Halloween weekends is happening right now and it gets crazy busy, but the traffic's not bad. It's built well. So let's talk about gas prices here. Gas prices in Ohio are typically below the national average. So that's great. And I can verify that too, vouch for that. I've driven plenty of times from Ohio to Florida and all around. And typically I find Ohio is one of the cheapest. It gets more expensive as I got to Florida. And then let's talk about parking. So parking downtown is pretty much free or very inexpensive. So I know there's a couple of parking garages that I use when I go down there. So those are free as well. The one thing that gets frustrating in Ohio that I'm going to mention is the Turnpike. And I've noticed, I don't have the research on this, I've noticed the price has gone up. I drove the other day from, I think it was somewhere around Elyria, Ohio, all the way through Toledo. And it was like $9. I was like, what in the world? Just for a car. So it's gotten more expensive, that Turnpike. Turnpike's in great condition. It's a great road to travel on, but it's something to consider. So depending on where you work and how much you have to commute, you might need to use the Turnpike. There's 2 highways that run kind of parallel from east to west that a lot of people use. One is Route 2 and one is the Turnpike. So those 2 highways, one is free, one is not. So it just depends on where you're going. One runs along the lake, the other one's more south inland, but they both go east to west. So you might need a budget for the Turnpike. I have an easy pass, they call it, because it does go into other states like Chicago or Illinois with Chicago and things like that too, have the easy pass as well. All right, number 8, this is the last one, lifestyle and recreation cost. And so this one is a fun one because it's a positive, and this is where Sandusky really shines. You're living in a vacation destination, honestly, which means your weekends are filled with festivals, concerts, lake days, Cedar Point. And so there's a lot to do that require a little bit of a budget that you might want to consider when it comes to living here. So Cedar Point, I go there almost every weekend. I have not only a season pass, I also bought the season fast lane pass because I go there so often. I hate waiting in line. I don't have much time to spend there. So let's skip the fast lane pass. Let's just talk about how much it is for our gold season pass. That's, around $120 or so, depending on when you buy it. There are certain deals throughout the year where you might be able to get it for $100, but it's simply $120 to $150. When you think about how cheap that is, that's insane. I mean, I haven't been to Disney in a long time, but I know the cost to get in there. That's pretty much for like one day when you consider Disney. So you can get into Cedar Point all year long. That includes parking, by the way, and it includes, my gold pass includes any Six Flags park in the country. I don't travel to very many of them because I live like right next door to the best one, but still, it's a great deal. So Cedar Point's great. Boat slip rentals, those are going to be around $1,200 to $2,000 depending on where it's at and the location, the season that you're in. Local gym memberships, that's just like the national average. You're going to think $40 to $80 a month there for that kind of stuff. There are golf courses around too that you can join memberships. There's a Sandusky Yacht Club and things like that you can consider as well. And then there's things to consider like Put-in Bay and Kelly's Island. Those require a ferry to get over to. The ferry, depending on if you're taking a car or not, over on the ferry, literally you can drive your car onto the ferry and then take the car over. I don't recommend doing that as much. I think it's fun to go over there, rent a bike, rent a golf cart, enjoy the whole experience, or take your boat, either way. But the ferry is going to be $15 to $20 per ticket round trip. So these aren't deal breakers. These are just things to consider. When you're moving to Sandusky, there might be some hidden costs, and they're not actually hidden. They're just costs that people don't think about. And when you move anywhere, whether it's Sandusky, whether it's a different area of Ohio, you need to be aware of property taxes, utilities, all of the different things. What's it like to live there for lifestyle cost in general? So here's the good news that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. With all of that considered, Sandusky is still considered below the national average when it comes to the average cost of living. I love that. That's why I live in this area, is because the actual cost of living is much lower than a lot of other places that I've lived, and I can enjoy more amenities than I've gotten at other places in this specific location. I absolutely love it, and so many other people do and choose to stay here. So hopefully this video was helpful for you, gave you some things to really think about if you're looking to move to this area or around this area. Maybe you're moving from Cleveland to Sandusky or wherever you're moving from. Hopefully that was helpful. If it was, please do me a favor, subscribe to my channel. That way you can stay informed on other videos that I'm going to put out that are talking about this specific area. Maybe it's Huron, maybe it's Vermilion, Port Clinton, this whole area. If you're thinking about moving here, whether it's tomorrow or 9 months from now, I'd love to hear from you. My contact information is all in the description below. Feel free to call me, text me, email me, or even schedule a Zoom call where we can just chat. I'd love to help you out and be a resource for you. So until next time, I'm Adam Williams, your trusted real estate expert in Sandusky, Ohio. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.